Hello and welcome to Double Talk. I'm Mark Steffen, and joining me this week in the co-host seat is David Salcido. Thanks for sitting in, David. Michael Mandel is out this week, and glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Now, you work for the Las Cruces Bulletin, among other things.
I do.
And you're a reporter?
I'm a staff writer.
Staff writer. What do you tend to write? Just the hard news?
Pretty much anything. No, I don't do a lot of hard news. What I tend to do is, well, right now I'm shepherding the home section, but I also write like business articles. I do a lot of arts stuff. Mainly because it's a big section, and Zach Hansen is the editor, and I help him out. Also, too, that's sort of my love. I love to do art stuff, so I go out and cover that stuff. And
you're also the artistic director of the White Sands International Film Festival.
I am.
And we'll be talking about that in the second half of our show. But first, we're going to talk about another festival that was held here this past weekend up at the Farm and Ranch Heritage Museum. And that was the Tour de Beer. And gosh, they had hundreds of beers from all over the world, actually. And I was up there sampling, and my co-host Michael Mandel and I went up there, and we sampled a ton of beers and had a good time. And we took a little bit of footage while we were there. And let's go ahead and roll that in, and I'll try to talk us through it. Since the audio there was pretty bad, we really can't use most of it, but I'll talk us through it. Anytime you want to roll that footage, Chris. So here's the outdoor portion of it on the kind of the courtyard area there at the Farm and Ranch Museum. They had a pretty good turnout. You were there. I saw you there.
There were a lot of people there. For a hot day, there were a lot of people
there. For a hot day, I was glad part of it was indoors where they had air conditioning.
Yeah, me too.
This was in one of the main rooms they have, and they had just booth after booth of beers primarily. And that's me sampling a chili beer. Had essence of green chili. I kind of liked it.
Is that your favorite?
I'd have to say no, it's not my favorite. There I was tasting a gluten-free beer, and we'll come right back to that in a second. It said gluten-free beers, but it really wasn't a beer. And it was more of a cider.
A cider?
It was a cider, gluten-free cider. Well, what cider isn't gluten-free, really?
Yeah,
it comes right down to it. I wish they could give us a gluten-free beer, but I'd be all over that. You know, not that I have celiac disease or anything, but gluten causes inflammation to everybody. We just don't realize it.
It's true.
In some people, it causes like fuzzy thinking, brain fog.
I think that's just the beer, isn't it?
Well, even a pizza could do that to some people. Of course, celiac disease is something serious in your digestive tract. So none of us really should be eating gluten when it boils right down to it.
That's what they say.
But what are you going to do about pizza and bread and
I know. I couldn't give up
French
bread.
toast.
I might be able to give up pizza, but I could not give up bread.
Flour tortillas.
I couldn't give up tortillas.
Pies and cakes. Baked goods. Bagels with cream cheese and smoked salmon.
You're making me hungry.
I can't give those things up.
No.
Bread I can cut down on, and I have.
Really?
I have cut down quite a bit. And there's gluten-free bread now anyway. Now here's another beer. The reason we're not showing the sound because it was so noisy and the acoustics were so bad in there that the audio just wasn't worth using. So that's me saying, I like it, and I like it fine. And yes, here's quite a selection of beers. This beer is, can you read that? We're going close.
It's kind of fuzzy. Too much gluten.
Redbridge beer. There's a guy who drinks every afternoon.
There you go.
It's my motto. There's Michael Mandel. He's getting the third degree there from that gal who's vending the beers. Michael remembers her name because he talked to her. I don't remember her name, but she was quite a lively customer there. Although we were the customers, and so Michael tasted all three of the beers that she had to offer, all three different IPAs. And there's so many IPAs from which to choose. I mean, if you go online and you just type in IPA, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of them.
Do you like IPAs?
I do. When I go to the High Desert Brewery, I have one occasionally. I tend to have the other stuff, though, like an Oktoberfest or Irish Ale. something like that.
Now, I'm not a big fan of IPAs. I tend to like ales better.
Yeah, I'll have if 2 or 3 that I want aren't available, I might have an IPA. So Michael seems to like it. Now here's another beer festival that's happening downtown next month, the Beer, Bacon, and Bourbon Festival.
I'm looking forward to that one.
September 19th in downtown Las Cruces.
Bacon in it, how could it be bad?
I don't know, I haven't eaten bacon. Well, I want to eat turkey bacon. And, there's Michael. He's tasting some cheese. Now, there happen to be some goat cheese there available for tasting and purchasing. And goat and cow cheese. We happen to like the cheese. That cheese was pretty good. And so there's a few other... Here I was tasting mustards. Locally made mustard, or New Mexico mustard. They had red chili mustard and green chili mustard. That's the red chili mustard I was tasting. I found it to be quite vinegary, more so than I like. I'm not a big fan of vinegary tasted foods. Like, when I have pickles, I rinse them off first.
Do you really?
Yes, when I get capers out of the jar, I rinse them off.
That's the best part.
Just to get the vinegar, the predominant vinegar taste. It still has it, but I prefer it more subtle.
So you don't like bread, you don't eat bacon, and you don't like vinegar.
Yeah, that's
All
true.
right.
Pork bacon. I don't eat pork.
Okay.
This is here we are outside. There was a band playing. Dawn, this is the 3rd year?
This is our 3rd annual, yes.
Who started it?
I did. No, it's my event. I own the event, and there was not a big beer festival in town, and I'd been asked after years of doing wine festivals if we could have a beer fest, and I said, well, let's do it. So 3 years ago, I took a risk and started it.
As I recall, it was downtown originally, right?
No, this one has been at the Southern New Mexico State Fairgrounds the last 2 years.
Okay. And why did you come here this time?
I had to do a lot with bringing it closer in town, getting a little closer to El Paso, and also the licensing. I have a different license holder here in town, and this works out a lot better.
I have to say it's much more pleasant here than at the fairgrounds.
Yes,
and
it
much
is.
easier to access as well. What's the toughest part of putting an event like this?
You know, there's a million details, but that's what we specialize in. So it's keeping track of it all and bringing all the people together. And
Now, what's the name of the company you work with?
I own Helping Hands Event Planning.
Helping Hands Event Planning. So you do a number of events besides Tour de Beer.
We do Beer Fest, we do Wine Fest, we do the Mesilla Valley Hospice Men Who Cook, we have the White Sands Film Festival coming up, we do a Pumpkin Festival, a Pond Festival, all kinds of things.
Who's doing the Bacon and Bourbon Festival?
That is, I believe it's a downtown partnership, and I can't think of the name, Party Tenders, and then Dickerson's Catering. I believe those are all involved in doing that one.
Now, if somebody wanted to put on an event, they could call you and you'd help them do that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. What's the phone number for them to get a hold of you?
575-522-1232.
1232, and you see that number on the bottom of the screen. Dawn, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out and having fun.
And thank you for a very successful Tour de Beer. Well, there we were, talking to Dawn. Unfortunately, that was out of sync, but that's the way things go sometime. And so, I guess it's going to be a year-round event. And
With the beer fest?
with the Beer Fest,
This was the second year.
second year.
Yeah.
So it's going strong, and
Oh, I'd say she'd do it again. I mean, it was.
I mean,
very
it was a successful thing, and I think she made some money on it, and
Yeah.
everybody had a good time.
Everybody had a good.
And the weather cooperated.
It did. It didn't rain.
Strangely enough, because this is our rainy time of the year, and we've had some strange weather. I like having the weather that we've been having,
Yeah, me
the rain and the thunder and the lightning. Although there's a few people who weren't too thrilled about lightning this week. We had some lightning strikes actually take out a few people temporarily. Bolts of lightning struck Picacho Middle School during soccer practice, I guess it was. And one kid was taken to the hospital, was in serious condition.
Yeah.
And some others were affected less severely, and they're improving. And to the fellow who's still down in El Paso recuperating, we send our best to him. You've got to be careful with lightning.
Yeah.
It doesn't mess around, and it usually wins.
Stay inside.
Stay inside. Don't go up on the roof. Don't stand out in an open field, because you'll be the tallest thing around, so it's going to hit you. Actually, being under a tree is safer than being out in the open, because it'll hit the tree first in most cases.
Well, now
You don't-
these people that were struck were near a tree.
They were near a tree.
It hit the tree.
It hit the tree, came down, and continued toward them.
Yeah.
So they just were unlucky. could have gone in the other direction and they would have been missed.
Right.
They might have been, the ears ringing a little bit. But yeah, when thunder roars, go indoors. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Stop all activities. You're not supposed to talk on the phone. You're not supposed to use plumbing devices. I was at a party once when lightning struck outside and came bouncing down the hallway, and the stereo was at the end of the hall. It hit it and took it out. But
That sounds scary.
yeah,
Don't play golf.
don't play golf. Lee Trevino learned that the hard way.
All kinds of horror stories about people
Yeah.
playing golf in the rain.
Yeah, some like I was telling you earlier, the guy that holds the record for lightning strikes is 7, and he still lives to talk about it. He doesn't talk well, I'm sure.
But what does he do? Does he trim trees during storms?
I don't know if he walks around waving a metal wand, or if he just has the kind of energy that attracts electromagnetic pulses.
I think if I were that guy, I would be underground during a storm.
Yeah, he needs to live underground. And
Or at least just go into the basement.
And at the first sign of clouds, stay down there. Maybe he's just trying to commit suicide, and that's his way of doing it.
Well, he's failing miserably then.
Well, there are other people who try to commit suicide by jumping off of bridges. And not with parachutes either, not a base jumper, but people who are just saying goodbye, cruel world. And they like to jump like the bridge up at Taos, right outside of Taos, over the
I've
Rio
heard
Grande
that.
Gorge. It's a beautiful bridge and at a beautiful location,
I love it. I've
and
been
it's
there.
some 400 feet straight down. And there's a beautiful picture of it. And, the governor's office is talking about doing something to try to prevent the people. About 6 people a year jump off that bridge.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And the idea is to put telephones on the bridge,
Like the Golden Gate Bridge.
like they have on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
Have five telephone space along it on each side, 10 total, so that if somebody's feeling the urge to jump and they see the sign for the phone, suicide hotline, maybe they'll pick up the phone, one last shot, and maybe they can get talked out of it. I mean, you can
curious
always
to know
commit
if that
suicide.
works.
It's easy. Why do it then? You can always do it later. Let somebody talk you out of it and go on about your life. Now, 6 people a year jump off this one. The Golden Gate Bridge, about 46 a year jump off. So come on, New Mexico, we're not doing our part here.
Maybe we just don't have as many reasons to jump off a bridge.
Oh, well, maybe that's it. Of course, there's always a lot more people out there. So per capita, maybe
Exactly.
we're doing okay.
Maybe we are.
We're holding our own. So don't jump off of bridges.
Right.
Now, the other thing I saw in the news is that the artificial turf that they've been laying out at Aggie Memorial Stadium is completed. There they are installing it, and it's going to be ready for the opening game. It might be.
They didn't know if it was going to make it.
They were cutting it pretty close.
Very
Apparently,
close. They had a couple of problems.
they had to then paint it and get it all ready.
Well, and then their sewing machine broke.
Yeah, sewing machine. Yeah, here's an agricultural college who can't, and they're putting in artificial grass. What does that say about an ag college, really? Yet they want to put in a park next door to the stadium with artificial turf? One wonders.
Nah, that's where they'll put all the real grass.
We
right?
hope so, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, okay, but
A
it'll
park with artificial turf?
it'll be like the Field of Dreams. Nobody will be able to use Aggie Memorial Stadium for anything but football because it's artificial turf. We can't have people walking on it in high heels or spilling a drink on it or dropping their gum on it because they don't have the money to put a cover down for it. Anyway, also this weekend, to go out on a positive note, the Salsa Fest, Las Cruces Salsa Fest downtown is going on Saturday and Sunday. It's going on right now. The tasting of it is tomorrow on Sunday, but tonight there'll be bands, Nosotros among others, will be down there. It just cost a few bucks to get in. I think it's $12 for both days, or $10 in advance. If you want just to go for the salsa tasting, it's $5. That gets you in to taste up to, I don't know how many salsas, 25 salsas, depending on how many people show up.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I got food poisoning from one of the salsas, at least one of them. No one knows which one, because I tasted every salsa but 2. So I know which ones didn't cause it. So anyway, we're going to take a break right now, and we'll come back after these words and talk about the film festival.
It's not a great endorsement.